You ever have one of those friends who just remembers absolutely everything, and they come through for birthdays and anniversaries, and they follow up the next time you see them on some little trifling thing that you brought up? Hey, how did that deal work out at work with that one lady? Wow. Thank you for asking. I can't believe you even remembered that. You have that kind of friend? Maybe you are that kind of friend. If you are, God bless you. You are awesome. I'm not nearly attentive enough. I miss things like that too often, and I don't like that sometimes it might convey to people that I don't care as much as I actually do. I think that's a cool way to let people know that you give a rip about them and that you're being thoughtful about things in general. And I've got a friend, though we are divided a bit chronologically in terms of when we were born, I still think he's somebody who really does a good job of following through on things. And that is Matthew, the gospel writer Matthew, with whom we have spent a whole bunch of time together over the last 3 years and change. I just got a sneaking suspicion that the same thing that made Matthew a good candidate to be a meticulous, nitpicky, state-sponsored stooge who went around and made sure that everybody paid all the right things. And I have some questions about these receipts and deductions, all of that stuff, to make sure that the occupying Romans got paid every last penny that they were owed. Once he got flipped to a different set of values coming out of his encounter with Jesus in Matthew chapter 9, I bet all that stuff went into attentiveness to little details that matter. Things about people's lives, things about big picture stuff. And I'm not just guessing or making that up. I feel like I know this guy pretty well. I feel like you do too. I think Matthew, as we look at his book, we see that he pays off everything. If he introduces a theme, he's going to round that theme out. We spent the last 3 days looking at a gigantic theme in the book of Matthew, that being the theme of the authority of the king. But the last 3 days, I think that's really the first time we've had a chance to end that theme that Jesus points to say, hey, this commissioning I'm giving you, this is why I'm qualified to give it and why there's only one right response, which is go do and be this thing that I'm commissioning you to go do and be. If this commissioning sounds a little bit outside the lines of what you expected, well, look at who I am. I have the authority to commission you in this way. So we saw how Matthew tenderly and attentively and painstakingly paid off that theme of authority. Nice job, Matthew. I feel like you remembered my birthday. My birthday's Christmas. In a way, I guess he did remember my birthday. So we talked about that authority theme payoff. Here's another theme that's getting paid off, the new family of faith. Now, this we've been over much more carefully. We don't need to go scan through all of Matthew again. We've done that a couple of times. But all throughout this, there's been the theme of the ethnic family versus, or maybe in complement to, the new family of faith, the kingdom family, this adoptive family wherein the king takes people who were his enemies, outsiders to the kingdom, hostile toward the kingdom and its values, and flips them into full sons and daughters and heirs and useful agents of this kingdom. It's beautiful imagery that we get throughout Matthew, and we've sensed all along that Jesus was a spiritual father to this immediate new family of faith with the disciples, and that like any sons would do toward their father, they get some stuff right, they get some stuff wrong, they want to get things right, they're sorry when they screw it up, sometimes they're stubborn, and even after they get told what to do, they still don't do the right thing. Sometimes they think they know better than the father, but in the end, the good father is forgiving and restorative and long-suffering. And in the end, the good father is commissioning. The good father imbues the sons with authority and says, you're not a little kid anymore. You got a job here. You got a role in this thing. You have an active role in my kingdom, and in this way you have a share in my inheritance. And any questions that have been outstanding through the book of Matthew about how can this new family of faith work? Is it really like meant for people? Or normally throughout all of ancient history, and you think of like regional gods, deities that belong to a people group. It's like a patron god. And if luck bounces your way, you're like, Our patron god sure beat your patron god this time. That really worked out. Well, what we're being presented with in the Old Testament, and very much so in Matthew, is the idea that this isn't just another one of those stupid little made-up deities that is just a personification of the ebbs and flows of fate and luck over the course of the unfolding of the history of a people group. This is the actual deity, the actual maker of all the things, and this is his son. This is God in the flesh, and this is the redemptive plan, not to make sure that you beat that neighboring kingdom that gave you fits a few years back, and this time you're going to get to plunder them, and then they'll see, and we'll make some sculptures. No. We're resolving something much bigger than that here. We're resolving the human problem of sin and failure and death and our slavishness to aging and entropy and time and our separation from that God who made everything. And this God who is bringing about this resolution and this redemption isn't just making a religion, he's making a family of faith. And this family of faith is even bigger than the family ethnically he initially made a covenant with, though there is no indication that he does away with that relationship. But clearly that relationship is now mediated by Jesus of Nazareth, the one true king. So Jesus says, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me, which we covered at length. Then he says, therefore go and make disciples of all nations. Well, there's that family of faith theme. Everybody's in. This family is going to look really, really weird. This family transcends ethnicity and language and culture and time. There is no time constraint put on this. It's open-ended. The vision, the intent, the command that Jesus is giving here is massive in its scope and in its implications. I mean, look, even if you don't think there's a God after all of this, and you don't think that Jesus is who he says he is, I mean, at minimum here, even the skeptic has to give credit to Jesus as a visionary. What unbelievably unbridled vision for how things could be he is casting here. He's sending them out with the full intent of transforming planet Earth and the minds and hearts of people without force. Disappointingly, Christianity has gotten that wrong at times, and as we have discussed at length, has taken up the sword, and when it does, it tends to die by the sword, just like Jesus said. But the idea is that the king and the values of the kingdom and the story of the king are so compelling that anybody from any culture or any context could look at that and hear it, be moved by God in the same way Peter's eyes were opened, and regardless of where they are from, could become a part of this new family of faith. When I was a kid, there was this concept that we got taught in school. It was pretty good. The idea is a melting pot. Like we all come together, we all maintain some degree of distinctiveness, but also like we influence each other and it kind of rubs off on each other. I don't know if that totally worked because it seemed like that did kind of mute different expressions of culture, but I don't know. It's an understandable world system, state-sponsored way, try to make it work, that we all just kind of come together. We tried the multiculturalism approach, which is like, no, all the cultures are different and they should remain distinct and you should just respect those differences. And then that kind of turned into something of, I guess, the state-sponsored world system religion of its own. And I think that whole constructive proposal for how to make some sort of global secular society work, I think it's teetering right now. I don't think the language that's being employed and the strategies there are ultimately going to achieve the good things that I think they hope to achieve. What I'm saying is the world kingdom solutions for making a wildly diverse family out of the wildly diverse people of our wildly diverse world have been wanting. They haven't been as effective as we would hope, using the power of the state and advertisement and even well-intentioned state-sponsored education to get people's heads in the right places on that. There's a missing element that you just can't quite get from the world system. And I think that missing element that can make this vision, this dream, a reality of a truly a new family of faith with people who are wildly different, all sitting at the same table under the same roof. I think that missing element is the stuff that's demonstrated in the cross. It's the stuff that's demonstrated in the forgiveness of Christ when he just says, go and tell my brothers after all that they did to him, that's his response. And the other missing element is the deference to the authority of an eternal king, as opposed to trying to accomplish that with an expression of the world kingdom in terms of just like an administrative state. It just doesn't work the same way. The heart of it isn't quite the same. I think we're going to continue to labor to try to make a global community work. And I think we should, because I think people should love each other and treat each other well. Ultimately, I think we're going to keep nipping at each other, biting at each other, devouring each other. I think we're going to continue to have strife and difficulties because I don't believe in the world system's ability to ultimately realize that dream and that vision. But let me tell you what, this was revolutionary when Jesus said it here. There wasn't a lot of momentum for an idea like this, and pretty quickly it got momentum because of the work of God and because of what these guys did in response to what Jesus says here and what he says next in going out and building this new family of faith. We're going to talk more about these last few verses in the book of Matthew next time around. I'm Matt. This is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. Let's do this again soon.